There we are. So we are live. How are you, Lorena?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I am doing fantastic. Just wrapping up this Shabbat, like a lot of us.
Right.
How has your weekend been so far?
I've had a pretty busy weekend. Today we had an event at
Nice.
my it was a community day out at my church. So, we just a lot of people came out. Just a lot of community people and neighbors, and we had food, fun, and laughter.
That's always a good thing when you have a little bit of food, fun, and laughter,
Yes.
especially the laughter, right?
Yes, and they had a whole health fair in our gym where they had all these different vendors to come out and checking your blood pressure, we had the blood mobile. It was just really awesome because all that we had was free to the community. We had a food bank and people were able to get food, boxes of food to take home, but it was an awesome day.
That sounds amazing. It's funny just listening to knowing your 9 to 5, all the different things you're doing. Sometimes you wonder where you find the time, right?
Exactly, exactly. Where do you find the time? Because we started, the health fair was like from 9 to 12 or something like that, and we actually we got there at about 10:45 to set up, and we were there till like 12 to 4:30. So, and we were responsible for the cotton candy and the snow cone and the popcorn machine, the concessions. And we had
Wow.
another station with ice cream and another station with food, another station with funnel cakes. I mean, it was really nice. We had the jumping beans. We had a lot of people just to come out, and you could tell they really enjoyed it.
That's amazing. Well, my first guest here tonight is at My Life Totally. Thank you for joining us tonight. You're always very supportive. You're always here on our Saturday nights where we're just talking a little bit of crypto financing and everything just to keep the community aware of what's going on. So thank you. I never take it for granted because I know that everybody can be doing anything else with their time. So when someone decides to share their time with us, it's always a blessing. So tonight, I guess I'll just take a moment to say tonight I wanted to talk about tokenization, and I wanted to talk about Charles Schwab, and also just one of the things I've constantly said is how this whole thing with Iran, with this on again, off again war, is really just a charade. Uh, I know everybody has their own opinions, but to me, it's really just a charade. While the the institutions are putting in place the things they need to get in place before 2030, because most of us here that are listening to this, whether you read the Bible a little bit or you read the Bible a lot, we are headed towards this one world currency, this one world government. We know that there's things that are about to hit our plates that the majority of people are just not going to be prepared for. And I'm not here to say that I'm fully prepared or that our listeners are, but all I can say is we're trying our best to be prepared along with the guidance of the Most High. So, would you like to say anything on top of that, Lorena, before I begin?
No, I think you. No, I'm good.
Okay, so let me share my screen and talk about tokenization. I think everybody's going to find this interesting. At least I hope they do. So tokenization. Tokenization is the new architect of ownership. It's a clear-eyed look at how digital assets are rewriting the rules of finance, access, and wealth for everyone. Beyond the hype, understanding the infrastructure shift. So what does tokenization really mean? Without the confusion, here's a plain language breakdown. Tokenization is the process of converting real-world assets, property, stocks, bonds, art, funds, into digital tokens on a blockchain that represent ownership, rights, or value. We have your digital records. A token is a tamper-proof entry on a shared ledger. Think of it as a digital deed, undeniable proof of what you own. So think about this. For those of you who have purchased a house, one of the things that they do is they will run a title search to make sure that there are no liens against the property before you buy it. So that's one of the things that the digital records through blockchain, they're going to be able to eliminate some of that. The programmable tokens can carry rules. Who can own them, when they pay dividends, how the transfer, logic backed in, not bolted in. So last week, Coco talked about smart contracts. So that's what they're talking about when they say tokens can carry rules. That'll be through smart contracts. And then we have fractional. Any asset can be split into thousands of tokens, making previously inaccessible investments available to anyone. So what they're already doing this. So for instance, this was another thing that Coco mentioned last week. So let's say you own a house, and you literally can take that house, convert it into fractions, and sell those fractions and make money, rent it out. So there's already websites out there doing this. So I foresee it in the very short future, within the next 5 years, taking structures like the Statue of Liberty as an example. They'll fraction it out, tokenize it, to where we as the common person can own a piece of the Statue of Liberty. Why this shift is bigger than coins and speculation. The real story isn't the price of Bitcoin, it's what the technology underneath it enables. So think about this. Right now, the current market cap of all crypto is 2.5 trillion. They're estimating it to be 16 trillion by 2030. That is a huge difference between now and the next 4 years. So what that means, in the next 4 years, any crypto you currently own today, think about where this market cap is going. If you just hold on to what you own and don't sell it, you are going to be shocked of how the value will go up in the next 4 years. The total value of global assets, we're talking about $900 trillion. I mean, that is insane money. So one of the things about crypto is a 24/7 global market. And that's why they are moving towards doing that with the stock market. Because, the stock market is from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. But to keep up with crypto, the plan is to make it 24/7. You have programmable finance. Dividends, interest, and governance rights can be automated directly into the token, eliminating paperwork and delays. Real estate and private equity. Tokenization unlocks asset classes that only institutions or ultra-wealthy individuals can access before. And now with new market structure, you have secondary markets for previously liquid assets like infrastructure or private credits are becoming a reality. How ownership and settlement are being redefined. The mechanics of who owns what and how it moves are getting a complete overhaul. So on the left is the traditional system, and the right is the new system. So on the left, we had ownership provided by paper documents or database entry controlled by a custodian. Where it's going is ownership recorded immutably on chain, no single point of control. We have T+2 or T+1 settlement, 2 business days minimum for trades to clear. Now it will be basically instant, in seconds. Intermediaries, required brokers, custodians, transfer agents, clearinghouses. Now we're going into smart contracts, which will handle transfers, custody, compliance rules automatically. And lastly, fractional ownership of liquid assets is impractical or impossible. But going forward, any asset can be divided. Take a $50 stake in a Manhattan skyscraper is now feasible, as I was using the example of Statue of Liberty. The institutions are already building this infrastructure. So this is not fringe technology. The world's largest financial institutions are all in. So you have BlackRock, which launched BUIDL, a tokenized money market fund on Ethereum, over $500 million in assets within months of launch. You have Franklin Templeton. Franklin on-chain versus U.S. government money fund. They've put 400 million plus automatic market makers tokenized on blockchain processing transfers 24/7. You have NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, both exploring tokenization, tokenized securities, listings and settlement infrastructure for next generation equity markets. We have JP Morgan. JP Morgan Coin processes billions in daily institutional transactions. Onyx platform handles tokenized repo agreements. We have SWIFT and the central banks. SWIFT interoperability trials across 18 central banks, 130 plus countries researching central bank digital currencies. And then we have Goldman Sachs, which is digital asset platform, issued tokenized bonds for European investment bank worth hundreds of millions. What this means for everyday people, that's what you care about. What does that mean for us? Okay, so now we'll have access to wealth creation is expanding, but only for those who understand how to participate. New doors opening. You'll have fractional ownership of real estate starting from as little as $10, access to private credit and hedge fund strategies, not just public stocks. Instant settlement means your money isn't locked up for days during trades. Truly global portfolios invest in assets from any country, any time zone. And provable ownership, your records can't be lost, altered, or disputed. The wealth gap and tokenization. The wealthiest investors have always had preferential access to the best returning asset classes. Tokenization for the first time makes those same asset classes available at any scale, flattening a historical uneven playing field. Because in the past, you had to be an accredited investor to get in on some of this stuff. Now through crypto, everybody can. So now what's important is to educate yourself. Understand what you're buying before committing capital. Start small. Fractional tokens let you test with a minimal risk, and watch the regulators. Frameworks are emerging that will define the safe on-ramps. Now, those that listen to me know that when you come to my website, learncrypto101.info, the goal is helping people to understand this. Do you need me? No, you can do this on your own. but I know that the people who do listen to me have found my information very helpful, because you really need to educate yourself. And it is good to have somebody that can help guide you as you're learning. Shabbat Shalom, according to Yah. So why financial sovereignty matters more than ever? One, we talking about self-custody. Tokenization enables direct ownership without a bank or broker as a required intermediary. Borderless access. Geography is no longer determines what financial products you can access or invest in. Permissionless participation. Open protocols mean no one needs to approve your participating in the new financial system. I've been saying we all now have the ability to be our own banks. Now, that's the good news. The bad news, if you don't know what you're doing, you can crash and burn. So it's important to study and understand what you're doing, but now you are in control of everything. So now, what is OCC Bank? I was watching a channel this week, and they brought something up, and I want to share with you about OCBC that I think is important. So OCBC is a Japanese bank. They oversee Chinese Banking Corporation, is Singapore's second largest bank by total assets and one of the most well-capitalized financial institutions in Asia. Founded in 1932 through the merger of 3 local banks, it operates across 19 countries with a particularly strong presence in Asian and Greater China, serving individuals, businesses, and institutional clients through 3 core pillars: banking, wealth management, and insurance. The later anchored by its fully privatized subsidiary, Greater Eastern Holdings. Its mission is to enable people and communities to realize their aspirations with a vision to be Asia's leading financial services partner for sustainable future. Looking ahead, OCBC's next frontier strategy is built around 4 shifts: an Asia shift to capture Asian, Greater China trade and wealth flows, a tech shift embedding AI, digital and data capabilities, a net zero shift to lead sustainable finance across the region, and a franchise shift deepening its whole of wealth proposition across banking, wealth, and insurance. On sustainable specifically, OCBC has set an ambition to support 12,000 SMEs with sustainable financing by 2028, more than double its prior target, marking the first time an Asian bank has set a sustainable finance goal specifically for the SME segment. The Asian banker, the overarching goal is long-term compounding growth anchored in trust, innovation, and regional leadership. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because those who listen to Brother Karras and Covenant Awakens know he's been talking about gold. And when I'm telling you about tokenization, OCBC came out with this. They had a general meeting back in April, and this is a 18-page PDF that you can find online. The 2 pages, I don't want to bore you with this whole thing. So the 2 things I specifically want to show you is this. So this is the 18-page PDF that they put out last year. This is from this year, But the 2 pages I want to bring up are page 10 and page 16. So on page 10, they talk about AI and digitalization, which is tokenization, and they talk about the tech shift to tech. And then on page 16, they talk about how their plan is to tokenize gold. And this is something that Brother Karras and myself have been talking about. So it's already in the works to tokenize. Their plan is to tokenize everything. All assets are going to be tokenized. So it's important to understand what's going on. You don't have to understand it deep dive level, but at least be aware of what is going on. And like I said, in my opinion, everything that's going on with this war is just a smokescreen to keep your attention while they do get things ready in the background. Now, I know that this is a lot, so maybe no one has any questions. Lorena, do you have any thoughts or any questions regarding any of this?
No, I'm just really kind of learning myself. This is all new for me. So no.
Okay. It's just important to know that, like I said, you turn on, anyone who listens to local news, etc. Even if you listen to, Fox News, which I know your dad loves Fox News, right? So even when you're watching Fox News or even any of the finance channels, no one's really talking about this. And unfortunately, they're not talking about it because they don't want you to know about this. They don't want you to know about it until they've already got it locked down to where it's too late for you to take advantage. That's the sad truth. But, those who take the time to search and do their own research, they'll be the select few that get in on the bottom. They get the crumbs that no one is looking at. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about when it comes to tokenization. So the other thing I want to talk about is Charles Schwab. So I want to take a minute and talk about Charles Schwab. So most people are familiar with Charles Schwab. I actually have a Charles Schwab account. So I'm one that I don't believe in redoing the wheel. So this one YouTuber that I follow, she was talking about it. So I'm going to share some of her video, and then I want to explain the pros and cons of this. So let me share this. Okay.
Hey, it's Camila Stevenson, and around here we talk wealth, and I want to talk about how Charles Schwab opened up a wait list, and I'm going to share what that means. I just want to start off by saying that most people are looking for a big moment where they get permission to understand the type of assets that they should be investing in. And instead, they should be looking at moments like when the average American with a 401k and a brokerage account can finally buy digital.
Let me just pause this for a second because I want to address this question. So at argumentum, I can't even pronounce it. Argumentum 3578 says, what about the gold and silver in private hands? That makes up a very large amount. How do you think this will work in the future? Are they going to force private holdings on the chain? That's a great question. So there's a possibility that they could always force people to have to sell their gold. But here's the one thing to keep in mind. Those that own silver and gold, the reason you bought it is to eventually sell it for a gain or use it for whatever purposes you bought it. So just remember, the price of gold has doubled in the last 2 years, because I remember around 2020, 2021, it was around 2,000. Now it's like 5,000. So it's definitely doubled in price. So you have to say to yourself, if you're holding gold, like what is the purpose of it? Think about your ultimate goal, and is that ultimate goal to buy a house on the continent, to move to the continent? Because remember, if you are leaving, you really can't take that gold with you. You're going to have to sell it. So you may wind up selling it before going to the continent, so that now you have the means to purchase property or purchase whatever asset you're looking to access for your long term. So that's important to remember. Whatever precious metals you have, you may not be able to take it with you, because they're only going to let you take a certain amount out the country. So if your plan is to leave, you want to start thinking about a price point that you want to sell, so that you can buy the asset that you ultimately want to hold. That's just my opinion. It's not financial advice. At the end of the day, you have to look at what's going on in the world and seeing what's a good time frame for you to sell.
Assets the same way they would in Apple stock. And those type of moments are missed. And so there's a lot happening that I believe are missed because people want their.
Now, she just mentioned Apple stock. Now, I did a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and the two stocks that I recommended that you might want to look into are AI and Amazon, because they're about to be heavy in the AI infrastructure. And so those are two good stocks to own, and Apple will pay you dividends. Amazon does not, though.
Their emotions to be rattled. They want their heartstrings to be satisfied. They want some big dramatic announcement, some regulatory green light with the headlines everywhere that just makes them feel like the moment is unmistakably historic. Now, first, I do want to say real quick, go ahead and like the video. It does help the video and the channel, and I would really appreciate that. And also subscribe if you have not subscribed already. The subscribe button is right by the video. And then also, I do want to say,
there is a hidden second layer of the crypto market most investors will never find. A market where
this is not financial advice. Everything I share is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research and do not follow me to make your investments. Investing comes with risk, so do your own due diligence. All right, let's get into it. Well, listen, if you're not catching the signs and the signals of what's happening every single week, you are going to miss out. And Charles Schwab gave us another signal. And I want you to understand what that really means, because if this is something that you just scroll past the way most people did, then you're going to look back at this moment the same way people look back on buying Amazon in 1997, right? And this is not about the price satisfying you at the moment, but I want you to recognize that this is another structural moment that connects to the largest pool of retail and institution investment capital in America directly to digital assets. And once that connection is made, it does not get unmade. All right. Let me know in the comments, do you have a Charles Schwab account? Because I want to know how many people are about to have the easiest crypto on ramp that they've ever had sitting inside an account that they already have. All right, I want to talk about what Charles Schwab actually did and why it is not what most people think. So let me give you a full picture because most of this coverage wasn't probably plain to people. All right, so Charles Schwab announced that it is launching Schwab Crypto, a dedicated account that lets clients buy and sell Bitcoin and Ethereum directly into their existing Schwab brokerage platform starting in the first half of 2026, meaning right now, through a phased rollout that begins with Schwab employees, and then it moves to a select group from a wait list, and then opens to the broader client base. And even if we're looking at the starting point of what's allowed to be in that account, this is still moving in the direction that every other signal is pointing to. So on the surface, what this does sound like is a company adding a new product, and that's exactly how most people are going to read this. But here is what it is actually describing, okay? Charles Schwab manages 12.22 trillion in client assets, not billions, trillions, okay? There is a difference. $12.2 trillion. I want you to understand this. And it's across 38.9 million active brokerage accounts. These are not crypto enthusiasts or people who already own a Coinbase account and hardware wallets and XRP stacks, okay? These are everyday American investors, people with retirement savings, people with inherited money, people with 30 years of accumulated wealth sitting in a brokerage account that they trust because Schwab has been there their entire adult investing life. And Schwab just told every single one of them, all 38.9 million people, that you can now buy crypto the same way you buy stock. So you don't need a new account, no new platform, no new password or anything, no explaining to your spouse what a seed phrase is, because I know that that's what needs to happen often, right? Because they don't always understand, our family and friends around us. But Charles is just adding a button inside an account that you already have that allows you to buy that crypto. Now, I want to really have you think about what this really unlocks, okay? So the number one reason that most traditional investors have not entered the crypto space is not because they don't believe in it. It's because of a lot of friction. Okay, so there's a process of going from I want to buy some Bitcoin to actually owning Bitcoin inside a regulated structure. And that has historically required a level of technical comfort that most 50-year-old investors just don't have. So they have to set up an exchange account, complete the KYC verification, fund the account from their bank, and then navigate an unfamiliar interface. And then after that, they got to figure out custody, and then they got to worry about whether the exchange is safe. And it's a lot of friction that a lot of people have to go through. And so that just got eliminated for 38.9 million people. Schwab is not building a crypto exchange. They're building a button, right? And the people who press that button are not retail gamblers chasing meme coins. They are the same people who have been dollar cost averaging into index funds for decades. These are also the same people who called their Schwab advisor during the 2008 crash and stayed invested, and the same people whose financial behavior is driven by trust and familiarity, not speculation and hype. So when those people press that button and they start buying crypto, then the capital that enters into this space is going to be qualitatively different from anything else that's come before it. It's going to be patient, it's going to be long-term, and it's going to be enormous, of course. And this is what I want you to understand. Schwab is not doing this because they suddenly believe in crypto. I know a lot of people think all of a sudden when this rolls out is just because somebody started to believe in it. No, they're doing it because their clients have demanded it, and Schwab could no longer afford to send those clients to Coinbase to get whatever they wanted, right? So people are waking up in these infrastructures. Institutions are waking up. They know the risk. Why? Because they're following what's happening behind the scenes. So CEO Rick Wurster said it publicly. Clients were asking. He said it. And so now they have the regulatory environment that has clarified enough, and the conditions were right? So this is not enthusiasm. This is competitive survival. It's starting to happen now. And competitive survival is a much more powerful driver of institutional adoption than enthusiasm will ever be. And why? Because enthusiasm fades, but competitive survival does not. Now, here's why the starting point of Bitcoin and Ethereum only is the most important detail in this story, and why some people may have even gotten this backwards. Okay, so back in 2019, let's go back there for a second, because this is the parallel that your financial advisor will never draw for you. So October 1st, 2019, Charles Schwab announced that it was eliminating commissions on stock trades. So that's zero, and it's free. They're saying you can now buy and sell any stock on our platform at no cost. Within 72 hours, TD Ameritrade eliminated commissions. Within a week, E-Trade eliminated commissions. Within 2 weeks, Fidelity eliminated commissions. An entire industry that had charged trading fees for decades changed its fundamental business model in less than 2 weeks because one player with enough scale made a move that others could not ignore. So nobody planned for that cascade and nobody coordinated it. It just happened because when a firm with 12 trillion in assets makes a structural change to how it competes, the rest of the industry does not have the luxury of watching and waiting. They have to respond or they're going to start losing clients immediately. So that's exactly what's happening right now in crypto, except the stakes are not trading commissions. The stakes are which financial institutions capture the next generation of digital asset investors before their competitors do. Morgan Stanley has already launched spot Bitcoin and Ethereum trading for its customers. Goldman Sachs restarted its cryptocurrency trading unit. Fidelity Digital Assets has been offering institutional clients crypto trading and custody for years. JP Morgan built its own blockchain token for payment settlement. And now Schwab, the firm with more retail client assets than almost any other institution in America, just opened a wait list. So every traditional brokerage that has been sitting on the sidelines watching is now looking at a spreadsheet that shows how many of their clients are about to get a crypto button from Schwab. And that spreadsheet is going to force decisions.
Imagine being able to build
Now, this is not to toot my own horn. I've been telling people this for the last 5 years, but because people have not been able to see it, they were not able to get in on the ground floor. Now, I'm going to address Todd Wilson, and he says this will also drive up the price of silver and all things remaining the same, because he says that keep in mind that silver is used in semiconductors and its use will only increase due to AI data sets, which is absolutely right. So I had said personally that by the end of this year, we can see, I would not be surprised if we see a $300 silver sometime by December because of AI. Now, again, like I said with the gold, if you currently hold silver and gold, you have to think about a price point for you that you want to sell, because eventually you can't take it with you if you're looking to leave the continent. And the bottom line is the whole purpose for these assets are to, whatever it is your ultimate game plan is. If it's, as I said, if it's to leave the country, if it's even to buy a house or whatever it is, you have to think about what you want to do ultimately with these assets, because you don't want to just hold them and hold them and hold them. The reason you have them is to take use of them and take advantage. Now, the last thing I want to say about Charles Schwab is this. A lot of people I've helped set up accounts on COINBASE, Kraken, UPHOLD, etc. And a lot more people have accounts with Charles Schwab or traditional financial accounts than they do with crypto. So for those people who already have Charles Schwab accounts, it's going to be easy now. They don't have to necessarily set up a Coinbase account. But here's the big but. When you set up a Coinbase account and buy that crypto, you can move that to your own personal wallet. I don't know if you're going to, I doubt it if you're going to be able to do that with Charles Schwab. Whatever you buy, whether it be some crypto or traditional stocks, it's going to live on their platform. So you will not have ownership, true ownership, like you do when you buy on Coinbase and move it to your wallet. So always keep that in mind. Yes, for a lot of people, they are going to make life convenient for you to own crypto. But just keep in mind, you won't have necessarily full ownership. And the thing I stress with all my members is taking accountability and having true ownership of what you own. So that's all I have to say about this. Lorena, do you have any comment that you would like to make, or is there anybody in the chat that has a question or comment about everything that I've shown you?
I don't have a comment. Like I said, this is, a lot of this is totally new for me. So, I'm just listening, understanding. Just yeah, I'm just, just listening and to understand. And, with all of this, this is good that, you are bringing this up, just so we can be, abreast to what's going on. So for me, I think this is very interesting. For me, we just have to continue to, just make sure that we just keep our eyes open, listen and to understand.
So with that said, I'm gonna ask you. I'll ask according to Yah. I'll ask, and the link is it's toward the top of the chat. So if anybody wants to come on live with us, you're more than welcome to. But based on what I said, okay. So according to Yah says, do I think banks will do what Charles Schwab has done? Yes. I think for banks to be relevant, they will have to allow you to purchase crypto. In the next 5-10 years, crypto is going to be the norm. But what I have just been stating and trying to emphasize is when if you believe in the Bible and you believe in where we're headed to this mark of the beast system, you want to control as much as you can control, because the banks and Charles Schwab and these other entities will make it easy for you. If you want to be lazy, they will do all the work for you. But remember, when we come to that time and place where they tell you to bow the knee and you don't want to bow the knee, they have access to everything you own and they can cut you off at any time. That's what you want to avoid. That's why I take the time to teach you how to do this stuff, so that you don't have to be dependent. Being lazy and letting them do it for you, you don't want that to be to your detriment. That's all I'm saying. So even you, Lorena, like, I understand that this is new to you, but just from an everyday consumer, how you live your life, based on what you've learned in the last few weeks with me in terms of crypto, what has been, have you had any thoughts or anything, let's say when you go to bed and our minds wander sometimes. Have you ever just had like some kind of thoughts, just wondering what kind of world we're heading into?
I do, just just thinking about where we're going, and thinking about what we're seeing now and how it compares to what is written in the Bible. I think for me, the biggest piece that I don't concern myself with, if this makes sense, well, not necessarily concern myself with, but I just don't want to when we hear this kind of stuff and we hear all the things that are, when we see all the things that are going on, and when we align it to, what is written in the Bible, I feel like we are in those end times and those, the end days. But with all that said, what I try to focus on is keeping my mind, straight on the, on our Heavenly Father, just keeping my mind focused. Things can be going just crazy all around me, chaotic in this world, but I know that I cannot put myself in somewhat of a spirit of fear, if that makes sense.
Yes, we don't want to be in a spirit of fear. And yes, we do lean on our Father. With that said, we live in this world and we have to navigate in this world. So it's important for
Yes,
us to be knowledgeable, to
totally.
be able to see pitfalls that might be ahead of us.
And I agree with that. Not living in a spirit of fear, but yet, learn as much as we can learn, get as much wisdom, like this information that you're sharing, the sessions that you share on Monday, that alone, all of that, that's just providing us, making us, more aware and helping us become more knowledgeable of things 20, 30, 40 years ago we probably would have never even considered, looking into or listening to. So you're totally right. We have to be equipped, don't live in spirit of fear, stand on the word, but yes, we do have to be equipped. And I think that's where that wisdom comes in. That's where, you know, um, being alert, being aware, but yet don't be in fear and be faithful. And as we're learning, you know, for me, I ask God to just help me, keep my mind focused on Him at all times, and making sure that, I don't put myself in a situation where I feel like, just put myself in a situation where I am afraid, or, when you start listening to a lot of things, when you start hearing a lot of stuff, even the stuff that you share, you know, it can put you in a state of mind where, you wonder what in the world is going on. But with that being said, it's necessary to equip us.
It is. And just according to your, where you say they'll likely charge fees for doing this for us. And the answer is yes, because that's how they make money. But according to Charles Schwab, at least if you have a Charles Schwab account, they're not going to charge fees, at least initially, for you to purchase Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the only two that I guess they're initially going to have.
I think too, Mike, and this came up in one of our other conversations, that one of the things that I do, you know, when I think of all of this and everything that's going on and what we're seeing in the next few years, that's coming down the pike, I think for me, the biggest piece that I am most concerned with are the older people. We talked about that, like my parents and, my uncles and my aunts, because they are much older. And, I'm not sure if, I don't want them to feel like they get stuck in a situation because they don't know.
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of people are going to get stuck in a situation because they didn't know. And the worst thing ever is to find out something last minute and have to scramble. So let's see what Timmy says. I'm hoping to trade in crypto. I'm going to learn how to trade and gather and pull money out, but pull out a large amount. I guess that was that said. Okay. Um, I know some people make thousands by trading crypto or digital currency, but those are higher risk. Yes, I would like to learn how to do that and make thousands of dollars one day. I personally don't do trading, and it's funny, Lorena's brothers have been doing a little bit of day trading. And the reason I don't do day trading is because it's difficult, and with the bots, and unless you have a system in place, it's really hard. And initially, you can lose a lot of money. So for those who don't want to do that, my my comment to them is make sure you're getting involved in solid pro- products that you know will stand the test of time. And like when it comes to crypto, there's like 10 or so cryptos that I'm very bullish on, that I hold, that I know are going to do well, especially XRP, XLM, and Quant, because they're part of the foundation of the new financial system. So for myself, again, this is not financial advice, but I have just taken the time to do my research and to do my homework. And so the ultimate thing I think that everybody has to remember is that we're headed into a beast system, and they don't want you to own anything. They want to control you. And so you have to try to figure out a way to manipulate around that. And I know for one of the goals is try to own a piece of land where you can grow your own food, maybe have your own water supply. And ultimately, as long as you can do that, you you can you can survive through this madness until there becomes a time when there's nothing else we can do. Now, before we sign off, I would like to take a minute for Lorena to just talk about some of the things that she's doing. As a matter of fact, I want to share two things. First, I want to share this one thing here. I want to share this. So this is something that Lorena has been. She talked about it last week. Lorena, you wanna just talk a little bit about this again before we leave?
Yeah. And Timmy, if you can hang back too, and I'll tell you why when we finish. But yeah, this right here is a um a challenge that I have been challenged to do, to host as many empowerment parties as I possibly can. And by hosting an empowerment party, it's not on this one, but I do have one that says virtual or face to face. Um, if you agree to hosting an empowerment party, with 8 or more guests, then you will earn a free wheel. And then any of your guests that completes I have a financial needs assessment form, and after they complete that form, have a personal financial review session with me, then they will too earn a free will. So it just really, I'm doing this just so we can ensure that our people, not just everybody is, they have what they need if something should happen. Now, the will is not the whole, shebang, if you will. It's the start to how you're going to allocate your assets. But we would look, if you would like, we could look more extensively at a trust, how that works, how much all that costs, all of that. But this right here will at least allow you to allocate your assets and who will get what. So I have my information here. And if you're interested, you just go ahead and book a meeting with me. My calendar was off last week, and so um, I've gotten that fixed. But yeah, other than that, I have this here. So if you're interested, I would love for you to book a meeting with me. The other thing I know we talked about, one of the things we talked about was some online positions. And I do have another company. I think Timmy, it was you. Timmy, do you mind jumping on online if you could? I think it was Timmy.
And I'll put the link again
Okay.
in case.
But another company is Omni. That's a I listed several last week, but Omni is another one, OMNI, and that's another online site that you can do. And that one, I was trying to see if there's any more. But yeah, Omni is another one where you can actually apply and work from home. I know there were a couple of comments about those. There's another one, Mike. I don't know if you sent this to me or my niece, but it's Goldsmith and GOLDSCHMITT.
That wasn't me. I don't
Okay,
think it's
so
me.
and associates. So that's another one. Goldsmith and associates. That's another online job that you can get from online.
Okay. And according to yours, asking what did you mean by position?
Oh, that right there. Ah, I don't even know what I think I was talking about if you were looking for just a job, like in this case here for one of the for the Goldsmith, they have healthcare field positions, roles, like Progressive Insurance, United Healthcare. They have Care Centrics is good. She gave me another one, Care Centrics. So there are a lot of websites out there that do hire from home. And then of course I listed some last week as well.
Gotcha. So Temi is on with us, so you can ask Temi your question.
No, so Timmy, I don't know if I couldn't find a number. Did you get my email I sent you last week?
Yeah, I did. I did by accident clicked, and I was just testing the thing, but I didn't realize I actually put myself in your appointment. I was supposed to change the time anyways because I was going somewhere at that morning, but you already canceled it, so it's all good. But
Okay, I want to make sure. I didn't want you to think I was just leaving you high and dry. I was thinking, I was like, man, how I'm gonna do that, and I have a regular 9 to 5 job that I have to go to. So yeah, I just want to make sure you did see that.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's all good. Most definitely. And I appreciate that. I was gonna try to put my email, but I don't want to put it in the chat. But I'm
Oh
not
no,
sure.
no, text it to me. You see my phone number there? Just text it to me, and then we'll go from there.
Is it in the chat or in the
It
back?
should be on. It should be on this little my cell number 706-231-0428. I did according to y'all. Yes, you're right. I should have said job availability. I'm sorry. It's been a long day today, but yes, it's the job availability. Yes. The other question is those are remote jobs. I provided some last week. I don't know if you were on last week, so
Yeah,
If
um,
I was the one asking a bunch of questions last week. Yeah.
yeah. So I knew you were, Timmy. I think according to um YAH7, y'all 7 as asking the same thing. So do y'all remember? Let me see. I'm gonna go back to my text to see if I can find. I know I did live ops according to y'all 7. I did live ops. That's one of those. And then I think the other one was CRI.
That email connected to the appointment, is that your direct email?
Yes.
So I just put the link to last week's show. If you go back to last week's show, you'll be able to see all those jobs websites that Lorena was talking about.
Yeah, I actually look at some of the posts. Yeah, I did. I set up an account with myself to
Perfect.
that
But
post.
yeah, that's my email, Timmy. It's the lorenathomas.wfg@gmail.com.
It's probably better if you put it like in the stream, so that way nobody knows your information.
You can put it in a private chat, and then only you and
Yeah, I'm
Tim
trying
will
to type in the private chat, but I don't know how to get to there. I don't know. It's actually funny.
Oh, you talking about my email?
No. I'm talking about the stream. I'm trying to type
Oh,
in.
gotcha.
I put the link to the stream in the chat. So anybody can go back to last week's show. But before we call it a night, I wanted to just show 2 things. One is I am now official as a wealth advisor. So now, besides crypto, I can help with some traditional finance like Lorena. And so Lorena and myself are both part of the Malari group. So most of you already know who I am, but I just wanted to tell you that. And then the second thing that I wanted to share is this. So anyone who wants some type of help regarding their finances, they can come to my website, learncrypto101.info, and you can schedule a free 15-minute conversation where I will help to show you what you can do to better your financial situation. It's free. There's no cost. Just schedule a time with me and we'll get that all set. And so that is what I'm doing with the help of Lorena as well. So we work as a team so that we basically can help anyone regarding whatever it is they need to get you the best situation possible. So just keep that in mind. We are here to help our community and our people. So with that said, I want to just pass it back over to Lorena in case there's anything else she would like to say before we say goodnight.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to add to that, if you are interested in joining our team, please reach out. You got our information. Reach out to us. This is a great opportunity. This is something that I am going to look into doing full time just as soon as I can retire from my full time job. So this is we're super excited for Mike that he's able that he's a licensed financial strategist mentor. So we're real excited for him, and we know he's going to have some great things in store for our team. And so if you want to join our powerful team, just let us know and we can get you going with that. We can fast start you and get you going. So that's all, Mike, for us. I guess we'll touch base next Saturday.
Yes, but let me just say one thing about what Lorena is saying. What is unique about this whole system? If you are looking for a way, let's call it like it is. Let's say you're looking for a side hustle, because everybody's looking for a side hustle. Let's say you want a side hustle. You can go ahead and get yourself licensed, and you don't have to ever do anything like what Lorena and I are doing. But the reason why we say go ahead and get yourself licensed is because then we can give you 50% of the commissions without having to do anything, because you have to be licensed because of SEC FINRA regulations in order for us to give you 50% of commissions, even though you've done nothing other than maybe make them a referral. So
Yes.
that's one reason in itself why you might say, hey, I would like to find out more about getting license. And again, you don't have to necessarily do anything, but it's a way that you can make some side hustle money without doing anything. Me, Lorena, and others that are part of our team will do all the work for you.
It's a win-win situation.
It
That's
really
for
is a
sure.
win-win.
According to y'all, come on, y'all, come on. According to y'all 7.
She's so the key here, just remember what I'm saying. The key is you have to get licensed so that we can give you. So the reason why we can do this is because of the structure. And if you decide to set up an appointment with me, I'll explain that all to you. But the beauty is we're not tied to any one company. We basically have access to over 150 different companies. So we're able to mix and match and give people the best opportunities for them. And at the same time, we're able to share that commission. And that is the power of it. So like I said, if you're looking for a side hustle,
we're non-captive.
this might be one thing that you look into.
Yeah. And it's a great, and one other thing before we end, there are a lot of great perks to it too. So a lot of good benefits to joining the team. So think about it. And like Mike said, if you're interested, reach out to Mike and let him know, and we'll go from there. And Mike, on my end, I think that's it for me.
That's it for me too. So everybody have a blessed weekend, and I hope those who observe Shabbat, I hope you had a great Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.